Are we live?
Yep, second time for Charles.
Hey. Second time lucky. Welcome back, everybody, to SAFC Fan TV Thursday night live. And after last night's defeat against Fulham, we have now on today's show, we've got Owen, the exiled Mackham. How many subscribers have you got now, Owen?
It was 896 last time I checked, I think. So it's going in the right direction.
So why should people subscribe to your channel, Owen?
Daily Sunderland videos, daily updates, all for the grand price of nothing. Free. It's free. And I love talking about.
How are you feeling today? Anybody feeling good?
I'm feeling really good. Yeah, I've been up since 3 a.m. Had a full 10-hour shift today, but yeah, still feeling good, man. Still ready to go.
Happy days, happy days. Jack, you were at the game last night. Did you have a few beers, mate?
Yeah, had a couple. It was an entertaining game. I'm sure we'll talk about it. I've had a decent day. Been to work and just popped back from the gym, and there's plenty to talk about as always, Terry.
And what's that shirt you're wearing? Looks good.
It is the Sunderland one from the 80s, late 80s, I believe. Gabbiadini, that one, I think. I might be wrong. It's before my time. I just like the shirt.
Happy days. Conrad, how you doing, mate? You enjoyed the game last night?
I did. Thought it was pretty good. I know we'll get into it later on, but didn't embarrass ourselves, and I think we gave a good account after all that.
Are you feeling happy?
Oh, yeah. We've still got lots to look forward to this season, so yeah, pretty happy with that.
Right. We have 32 people on the live stream, on the chat. People so far. Las Palmas, Mackham on the chat like usual. SFC, Exiled Mackham's on there. DJ Sizzler Watson, Colin Major, Mick Griffiths, Niall Henderson, Michaelan Allen, Emma Hansen, Gary Talbot, Alan Hopper, Liz Perkins, Johnny Dawson, and the Bristolian Mackham all on the chat. Thanks for joining in. So we'll start with last night's game. Right. Should we do a brief? We'll have a quick brief. We'll have a brief rundown, then we'll get to some meaty bits in a bit. Jack, what was your brief? A sort of conclusion of last night's game, and how did it go for you?
Yeah, I thought overall, as Conrad's touched on, we didn't disgrace ourselves. I thought we made a slow start. Fulham were dominant in the first 20 minutes, half hour. They got the goal. I think even the most staunch Sunderland fan wouldn't say that they deserved it. We were second best very much, but we had a spell before half time. And then second half, I felt was fairly even. The annoying thing is they got the second goal, which sort of took the game away from us. We did have, play well in spells. We had a 20-minute spell towards the end of the half whereby we looked really, really strong. And, entertainment value, 5 goals, plenty of talking points. But I felt we would just come up short. But plenty to be proud of. Let's look at it as for what it was. We came up against a top 7 or 8 Premier League team. And over 2 games, we gave them a real good run for the money. And that's all we can ask for at this stage. Disappointing to lose. But, yeah, I thought we give a good account of ourselves.
After the first game where we played a really high press and were right in Fulham's faces, we disappointed how the game started last night.
Yeah, I felt like they really dominated possession, and I think we didn't get close to them. I think they were better though as well. I think sometimes on a Sunderland podcast you're always going to look at things from our perspective, but I think Fulham were much improved. They were poor for large chunks of the first game at Craven Cottage. I thought they were very, very good last night, and the intensity, the game, their speed, and the way that they kept the ball, it was like a Premier League team. That's what it was. You know what I mean? You could tell there was a league between the teams. So I know what you mean, Terry. I think we were slow. I agree with you. But I think sometimes you've just got to say the opposition were just a little bit better than we were.
Definitely a different quality. You can see a different quality last night. Mick Griffiths on the live chat. We were lucky to be only 1-0 down at half-time. We were unlucky in that we were unlucky in the second half. David Walker, we put up a good fight against a top 10 Premier League side, a game with no strikers. And Johnny Dawson's says, Terry, you need to get Raymondo and Mincy on the AK and Mackham Strangler comedy gold. Right. Alan Robinson just popped on there. Evening, lads. Conrad, what was your overall summary of the game? And were you disappointed with the start?
Yeah, the start was the sort of bit that was just sort of like, you almost wanted it to carry on from the first game, that sort of same intensity of the last sort of 15, 20 minutes of the other game where it was just, you didn't mind it being end-to-end because you sort of thought, look how good we are against them. And it was so a little disappointing, but completely agree with Jack. I think it's more that Fulham probably upped their game and sort of showed that they showed their class really for being in the top 8 in the Premier League and maybe even showed respect to us. Maybe in the first game they didn't think, these will be easy, a bit of a pushover. And this time they knew what they were coming up against and knew sort of to set themselves up better. You could tell because in the second half they weren't happy with just being 1-0 up. They bring on Mitrovic, and I think it's Andreas Pereira. I want to say, he's played in Champions League as well, so it's not like they're bringing on 2 young kids thinking, game's done, we'll see this out. They were like, this isn't over. We know they're going to come at us again. And even after the second goal, it wasn't done. They were right. We were going to come at them again. So disappointed to lose as always, but you could see at the end they'd given everything to beat them over the 2 legs. And if that linesman had just not gone to Specsavers in the first game, we would have won.
Exactly. Back on the chat, David Wilson's joined in, and yes, exiled Mackham. What was your take on the summary of the game? And again, were you disappointed with the start?
Yeah, it was disappointing with the start. I think like we're saying before we went on air, we did sit off them a little bit, but I think you've also got to take into account. I think maybe Fulham a little bit maybe underestimated us a little bit in that first game. Thinking our championship team, because obviously I know we surprised a lot of people with how we performed in that first game. But yeah, they just sat off a little bit too much. If we put the high press on them, I think it might have made a difference. But overall feeling is, really, really proud of the boys. Just the fact they never gave up. They gave a great account of themselves over 2 games. And I think there's a lot of people now sitting up and taking notice and really taking Sunderland seriously. And I was talking to someone last night about it. I was just saying, we go out and we play with that intensity and that ability as we've done against Fulham over those 2 games against most of this championship. There's not a team in the championship that can be able to live with us. Honestly, don't think there is. And I include Burnley and Sheffield United in that.
Nice one, thank you. Johnny Dawson is on the chat. He has game of 2 halves, but in the second half, going forward, we can give anybody a game if we do that all season. Mick Griffiths, I wasn't impressed with the referee. He was awful. We'll get up the referee very shortly. Alan Robinson, first 30 minutes was poor. And Miles Percival, we did ourselves proud. Pity the ref was poor. Right, so before we go on to the next subject, I want to say what a class. We all know that Chris Collier sadly passed away at the weekend, and all our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends. But I think it was 10 minutes when the whole crowd, the whole stadium stood up and gave him a round of applause. I thought it just showed the pure class of the fans, absolute pure class of the fans. Right, so the first goal. Who was at fault for the first goal, Jack?
I think partly you've got to look at we were slow to get out. I think firstly we seemed like we allowed the lad plenty of time to line his shot up, and he hits it. I think I'm down the other side of the ground, but he seemed to hit it with the outside of his boot almost, sort of swerved it in. I don't know if that played a part, but I was a little bit slightly disappointed that Patterson didn't keep it out because I think he got his hands to it, but it didn't seem like it was the most powerful of shots. Now whether or not the swerve took it away from him, I might have took a deflection, I don't know, but for him to get his hands on it, I thought he might have just done a little bit better and pushed it out. So I think it was a combination of the fact we should have got out to it and maybe Patterson should have had stronger hands, but it wasn't like a massive error. You wouldn't look at him and think absolute howler. I just maybe think he should have slightly done a little bit better, possibly. Do
you think the defenders were more at fault than the keeper?
I don't know. I just thought we slowed to get out, Terry. I thought we let the lad sort of, you could see he was going to have a shot the way he was lining up. We didn't get out quick enough to him. If we get out, we possibly get a block on it. But sometimes it's just one of those things. But I thought, I thought all goals were soft. To be fair, Terry, I thought all 3 goals were soft, which is annoying because we've touched on their Premier League quality. Conrad's mentioned Mitrovic and Pereira, international footballers coming off the bench. And the annoying thing is the 3 goals that they score, they didn't really have to work hard for the goals, which is annoying from our point of view.
Very annoying. Back on the chat, Doug B there. We were never going to win the FA Cup. So let's just move and concentrate on the league now. David Walker, we always get crap referees. Emma Hansen, first half shows to me that we aren't good enough for the Premiership. Charlotte S94. Hey lads, hope you're all good. I thought Jack Clark was class and only fools and SAFC. Roberts heading the ball back into danger area was a major factor. Right. SAFC exiled Mackham. Owen, what was your take on the first goal? You might have seen it from a few different angles. Who was to blame?
Yeah, I think it's again. I think the case of no one in the defence taking ownership. Again, like the Millwall goal on Saturday. I know it's not like Sunderland's way of playing at the moment, but put your foot through the ball. Just put your foot through the ball, get it out, clear it out. Don't faff around. I thought Roberts could have had I thought Patterson, could have been a bit stronger as well. I think he may have been slightly unsighted. You know, it was a strange shot, as Jack said. It was from the out. He hit it with the outside of his foot to curve it in. And I think Patterson probably could have had stronger hands and pushed it to the side, or tried to push it out a little bit further, maybe. But Jack, I think I agree with what Jack was saying. You know, they didn't have to work for any of their goals. All their goals, I think, if someone had just put their foot through the ball, no nonsense defended, we could have avoided all 3 goals. To be honest with you.
Yep. Conrad, were you like me in the first 10, 15 minutes? I wanted to see one of our players really put the boot in and put a really hard, strong challenge into one of their sort of forward lineup. But again, on the first goal, who's to blame? Or was it just good play from Fulham?
I mean, just about the sort of someone putting their foot in. The last time we tried that against Swansea, the ref sent him off. So... You know, it wouldn't have been the best to start either way. I mean, I queued it up again there because I was just sort of wanting to have a look at it. It's a weird one because Roberts doesn't do really good in heading it away. But even then, the lad has time to take it round. He's got our 3 centre backs all sort of pinned in behind him. We've got, I can't even see, I think it's Michu just out on the left over there and Roberts over it. And there's 3 Fulham players on the edge of the box. Not one player thought, do you know what, I need to be here just in case that lad lays it off. He's holding off the 3 defenders. He's not going to turn into the 3 centre-backs. It's obvious the ball's going to be pushed back. And you sort of think that's where you need to stand at one point. You need to just put yourself in the way of that pass, cut off the passing lane. The shot itself, I think Patterson's probably setting himself thinking he's going to swing his right foot at this. And by the time he realises he's already sort of poked it through with his left and the outside of his foot, he's gone down and it's probably a bit too late or a bit too unsighted, because in that position you would think it's a right footer curling it round the keeper. You wouldn't think someone's going to try and sort of do you with the outside of the foot. But again, he's an international player, Harry Wilson. He went to the World Cup, so it's not like he's, you know, a nobody who just sort of tapped it in. Really, he's a quality player and he's shown why. But I mean, I just think it was bad defending for the whole thing. Really, I wouldn't pick out anyone in particular. They all probably could have done better. All 3 centre-backs didn't need to fall straight behind him, and the midfielders needed to stop the ones on the edge and not be sat waiting for the wingers, because you wouldn't pass it out to the wing at that point. You're in the centre box. You're in the centre of the box. Yeah,
the impression I got, I thought we were just backing off too much in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, just backing off, letting them have the play, letting them sort of waltz through the park. We weren't taking any chances by actually trying and going for a good, strong challenge, you know, and really showing their players that we're here to put up a good fight. Now, back on the chat, do you think Patterson saw the ball late, says Mick Griffiths? Possibly could have. DJ Sizzler Watson, I want to know why we only have 1 striker and Fulham players were on the floor more than a worm. All right. Casual observer. There we go. He's on the chat as well. I wish I'd had Williams' hair. My nappy was Baltic. Napper was Baltic. Miles Pearce was laughing at that. And also Laura's on there. Ross Stewart is fit. We win the game easy. So we were missing we were missing the striker, full stop to me. But I thought in the first half, and I'll come to Jack first about this, I thought there was a lot of passes going astray. I thought misshoot, particularly give the ball away 2 or 3 times. I thought Dan Neil passed the ball straight to Fulham players, and I thought even Trey Hume, and I'm a massive fan of Trey Hume, I thought he down the right hand side passed the ball to Fulham players, and we put ourselves under a lot of pressure, a lot of sort of needless pressure. What was your thoughts on that, Jack? Did you see much of that?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Terry. We were very, very sloppy. I think we only know one way to play, really, the Sunderland team, and we're missing a dimension when you've got Ross Stewart. Now, I'm not advocating going long ball 90 minutes, but sometimes when they're pressing you high up and your passing's a little bit off, that's where you need a Ross Stewart. You can either play him and he holds the ball up, or he takes the pressure off, or you can knock it in behind the space and he can chase onto it, and then you get up the pitch that way and you take a bit of the pressure off that way. So we are very one-dimensional at the minute. I mean, we tend to play that way anyway, even when we do have Ross Stewart, but we're basically forced to play that way when we don't have a focal point up front. So the only way we can play is to pass around the back and play our way out of it. And the problem is you had Fulham who were sharp and straight in us on the press, and you had 1 or 2, maybe even more than 1 or 2, 3 or 4 of our players that were misplacing passes and sloppy. So I think it comes from the fact that that's the only way we really know how to play football, and we are missing an out ball. That's the only way we can play, and we've got caught so many times. I agree, 4 or 5, maybe even more times we give it away, and in dangerous areas as well. Do you know what I mean? Not just anywhere in real threatening positions for Fulham, and it really invites pressure onto yourself all the time.
Right. On the live chat, we have 68 people. Can you please give us a thumbs up? Much appreciated. And subscribe to the channel. The Casual Observer, having no striker is going to kill us this season. It's absolutely ludicrous. Totally naive, but I honestly don't think the owners want to go up this season anyway because it'll cost too much money. Stephen Crosby, we have a striker. We do have a striker, but he was cup tied last night. Owen, same question to you. Do you think it was more nerves last night, or do you think we were just a bit sloppy overall?
I think it was just sloppiness, to be honest with you, last night. Like Jack was said, we do only have one way to play. We only, we have to pass it out from the back. That's the way that is the Sunderland style, isn't it, this season? And I think when those players that are at the back there, like your Mishus, like your Dan Neils, are slightly off, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble getting the ball out. And yeah, Mishu was uncharacteristically sloppy last night. Not what we've seen over the past few games. So maybe it was also the fact that just a step up in class from Fulham. Maybe that was another reason why. But yeah, they were very sloppy at the start of the game. And I think that you want to see, don't you, when you're playing a Premier League team like that in a cup tie, you want to see them go out, blood, guts and thunder, go at them, especially for those first 15, 20 minutes, really go at them and pin them back and let them know they're in a cup tie. And we didn't really have that at all. I remember the Peter Reid days, and I remember, and even when we're in the Premier League, your first 10, 15, 20 minutes were always blood, thunder, get after them, no matter who it was, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, whoever it was, let them know they're in a game. And I think that was missing from last night. You're muted, Terry.
Knew that was going to happen at one point. Do you think that was instructions from Tony Mowbray? I think that was just a collectiveness being sort of on the night, and obviously Fulham playing a better game at the start. That's the new one.
So yeah, I think it's the night. I think part of it was that Fulham were better. They knew what to expect a bit more from us. I think there may have been an element of them. We caught them by surprise a little bit in that first game. They didn't expect us to play like that, play the way that we do. And you always find that, don't you, I suppose, when a team from the lower league play a team from the Premier League, that first game, there is more of an opportunity for them to beat them. It's the second game where they always reckon the Premier League team comes into its own then, because they know what to expect and they can step it up. As for whether that was expected from Tony Moore, that's the way Tony Mowbray wants them to play. He wants them to pass it out from the back. He wants them to build up the play. You even see from free kicks, don't you? We're not really a team that ever lump the ball into the box. It's a ball goes down, quick free kick, ball goes down, quick free kick. It's never a right, get all the centre halves up, lump it in the box, is it? That's just our style.
Right, on the chat, Casual Observer says, agree 100%, Jack. We have the tippy-tappy and absolutely nothing else. Tactical because of lack of strikers, and the vast majority of our players being the height of norms. David says, Casual Observer, I don't agree. You get money going up and coming back down. I don't know if anybody actually knows. Do you actually get money? Do you know, Owen, do you get, or Conrad, do you get money going up and do you get money coming back down? Is it a big amount?
I don't know what it is in the Championship, but you'll certainly get something for the higher you finish in the league, same as the Premier League. And even if you finish 20th in the Premier League, you'll have had 1 year of at least 100 million in TV rights and probably an amount for finishing last. It's weirdly what West Brom used to do. They used to go up, not have a go at it, come down. The second time, go back up and have a go at it because they've saved up 2 lots of money for going up. Whereas teams like Norwich and Fulham, because they were yo-yoing between them, they used to just do it every year. But West Brom used to do the 2-year cycle on it.
Yeah, Jack?
You also get the parachute payment as well when you go down, don't you? To help you sort of stabilise to the drop in income. So I agree with what Conrad's saying there. Essentially, what you could do is yo-yo for a couple of years, go up and down, and then maybe the second or even the third time, when you've got the finances in place and you've got a slightly stronger squad to go up and make a fist of it. I mean, Norwich and Fulham have been up recently and gone down again, haven't they? And then come back up again and gone okay. Do you know what I mean? So there's an element of that. I don't think it's not wanting to go up. I think everybody would want to go up. I think it's just a case of, are we good enough to go up? And probably on last night's show and the whole league show, I think the answer sadly has to be no. But we're getting there. We're close to being a promotion team. But I think last night to me showed us that if that's the level of the Premier League, then I think we've got a bit to go yet. We're well on the way, don't get me wrong, but I think we're even slightly off the top of being a championship team at the minute, and that was a decent Premier League team. So at times, particularly in the first half, you really notice the gulf, I thought.
I think if you do that with the yo-yo situation, you need to have a lot of players to sort of buy into that, don't you? Because they've got to know that they're going to go up and then come back down and maybe have a better run of it the second time around. Conrad, last night, what were you saying? Go on, Conrad.
Well, it's not like a deliberate ploy to not stay up. I think they tried to stay up, but without overspending and overstretching themselves if they sort of come back down. I mean, to be honest, we were a yo-yo team for quite a while between like 2003 and about 2006 or 7. We were up, down a couple of times in that sort of period. I don't think the money was as much as it is now, but I think there's some sort of weird statistic where Fulham and Norwich haven't played each other for 10 years because they just keep swapping leagues between them, and it's I don't know why that one just kept doing it. And the other interesting thing, it was from the first game, but I just thought while you were talking about the Fulham game, Tony Mowbray, they said in the first leg, had played Fulham like 8 times in his managerial career, and he's never beaten them.
No, right.
So just interesting fact that came up again last night.
Definitely. So, Conrad, you seen the game last night. Who was the player that stood up the most, who passed the more balls sort of astray in the first half, or was it just a collectiveness of 2 or 3 of them?
I think Michu looked like he was sort of not panicking, I don't want to say, but I think he looked like he was sort of maybe rattled a bit by playing the likes of Pereira later on and Polini. Is it Paulinho, the sort of Portuguese defensive midfielder they have as well? I think he sort of looked a bit out of his depth, and then it might have been that him or Dan Neil or any of the other midfielders were missing having that experienced head behind them in Corey Evans, sort of just saying like, calm down, just simple passes, sideways ball, let's just keep possession. It just felt a bit like, as we've touched on in previous weeks, there was no one there just to go, calm down, lads, you're all right. We haven't, don't just keep trying to go, quickly, I'll pass it here, or quickly, I get it out to you. Slow it down, keep the ball, and let's sort of think about what we're doing instead of sort of quick little tippy-tappy, which we're normally good at, but isn't working at the moment.
Before we go on to the rest of the match, while we're on parachute payments, there's a question here from Glyn Jones, and anybody can just put the hand up and answer it if they want. What happened to our parachute payment money when we came down from the Premier League?
Do you really? You know the answer.
Anybody know that?
You're baiting us for an answer there, Terry. You know what the answer.
I think it was spent really wisely, wasn't it? Invested back in the club, I think.
Right, we're going to go on to the subject of referees, right? I thought the referee last night was an absolute joke. Absolute joke. I think if he took his top off, he was at a Fulham strip underneath. I seen him touching Fulham players. Now, I didn't know that was allowed. Patting Fulham players on the back, sort of grooming the backside, patting his shoulders. I didn't realise that was allowed to do that. If a player got hold of the referee and give him a big hug, surely get a yellow card. So, Jack, what was your thought on the referee last night? Was he as bad as I thought he was?
Yeah, he was poor. I thought he pandered to every Fulham drop, gave them every free kick, lack of yellow cards when they were playing. They were doing cynical tackles. Not that we were trying to break very much because we barely had the ball, particularly in the first half. But there was 2 or 3 times that they give us cynical tackles, and I felt he only booked 1 out of the 3. I think he missed a couple. And yeah, they were the typical, physical with us, pressing us high, but then when the ball was getting in a threatening position, they were getting the body in the way and dropping down. I don't know whether I think it's possibly a combination of weak refereeing and also maybe other teams just being better at that type of thing than us. I think the referee was poor, I agree, but I think sometimes we're maybe missing a trick and not doing it, trying to be honest and get on the ball. And other teams are just disrupting the game, particularly when they get 1-0 up. But also that's where you need a strong referee to let the game flow. I think sometimes the games are better when they do flow. Do you know what I mean? Nobody wants to go to the stadium. I like to see a stop-start game and constantly giving free kicks to the opposition. So I just thought he was weak. That would be the word I would use to describe him. Just weak. He didn't stand up for the game. Didn't let the game flow. Anything. He was just every trigger happy with the whistle, and he sort of spoiled it a little bit.
Do you think with that being on BBC yesterday, a lot of officials and things will be watching his performance and that he won't get a good game again?
I don't know. I don't know if Fulham fans neutrals might not think he was that bad at all. Do you know what I mean? We might be looking at with red and white goggles, thinking he was poor. But I don't think it was bad enough to think he'd drop him or anything like that. I just felt like it was weak. I think sometimes on a big game like that in a cup competition on the telly and with two teams really going at it, 2 intense teams. Let's not forget it was an intense game. I just think it would have been better to let the game flow a little bit and not pander to the Fulham, dropping down and rolling around all the time.
Owen, your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was poor. I think it always happens though, doesn't it? I think, the Premier League teams as well, they've got that extra level of experience. They do it week in, week out in the Prem, and they get away with it week in, week out in the Prem. And I think with referees, the problem is, to me, there doesn't seem to be any accountability with them. There's absolutely zero accountability with when they go out there, the decisions they give. I mean, I personally would like to see them actually interviewed after the game and to justify some of their decisions and be questioned on those decisions. By whoever it is, BBC, Sky, whatever. If they knew they were going to be held to account and properly held to account, you might see slightly better performances. But when they're getting away with it and they just allow, I mean, that guy he'll have a game next week, no worries at all. There's like I said, zero accountability with refs. That's the problem.
Do you think there's zero accountability because they're frightened to lose referees because we've only got a certain amount of decent ones?
Decent. That's debatable, but but yeah, there is obviously, I suppose, that they don't want to come down to. I mean, it's not the most attractive of jobs, has it? Been a ref getting abused by 22 blokes on a pitch and 40,000 in a stadium, is it? So been hated by everybody, and yeah, I suppose that is part of it. But I suppose it's only gone the same way as players are held accountable, managers are held accountable, owners are held accountable. Everybody in this game is held accountable. If we were to go, I don't know, lose the last 17 games, God forbid, Mowbray would be held accountable and probably would be out of a job. Whereas a referee, if he has 17 poor games, just gets away with it. And that for me is just, it's not acceptable. You have to be held accountable for your performance, as you are in every walk of life and every job that you do.
Completely agree with you. Elliot Alderson, I didn't think it was that bad. If you look at the stats, it was pretty 50-50. It's a game of opinions. DJ Sizzler Watson, they went down more than a prostitute. James Ref had a good game. I had no issues with his decisions. Jackie Shields on here. Don't know how there was only 4 minutes of injury time. It was only 4 minutes of injury time, correct? And the casual observer, the linesman on my side, he had superbly straight side partons. Well, there we go. Maybe the referee was watching his side partons for most of the game and missed all the challenges and all the decisions against Sunderland. Conrad, thoughts on this referee? I thought he was absolute plonker.
Yeah, he wasn't the best. I was missing a few bits he was doing in the first half, but he's had a bad game when in the second half you get a free kick and you hear the whole crowd go, "Way!" So you always know at that point, right, he's not doing that well. The bit for me was, I think it was in the second half, I think Harry Wilson clattered into someone and he didn't give anything. He let the game go on. 2 minutes later, Harry Wilson deliberately handballs it outside our box, trying to sort of get it off Elise, and he didn't even give him a card. And it's not even like it was an accident. He jumped up and deliberately punched the ball. And then 3 minutes later, he brings down Jack Clark on the side, and you're sitting there going, well, hang on, what is any of these going to be a card? So even if the handball, you'd be then up going, hang on, you've just repeatedly fouling again. It felt like he was going, oh, that's a foul, but I haven't got my card, so I'll just keep, sort of going on, and that it was a bit weak, yeah.
Surely, Jack, if the guy punches the ball away, how does the referee miss that?
Yeah, it was blatant, like Conrad mentioned, absolutely blatant, and how he doesn't see it, and then he gives him another one, and then he does another yellow 2 minutes later. But I just want to bring up the point that my mum's made as well. I mean, when you think about it, there was 4 goals in that second half. There was plenty of substitutions, and Fulham were openly and blatantly time wasting towards the end of the match. And then only 4 minutes on the board. I don't know if anybody saw Tony Mowbray, but he was going absolutely ballistic on the touchline. And how can there only be 4 minutes when there's been 4 goals? If you average, 30, 40 seconds a goal, all of the substitutions and then Fulham time wasting. And then he only brings up 4 minutes. There should have been, in my opinion, at least, bare minimum, at least 6. So where 4 comes from, I mean, where the rest of it was, I don't know. But that was something I thought was crazy. I mean, only give 4 minutes when there's been 4 goals and all those subs and time wasting.
That's an absolutely fantastic point from your mum, Jackie Shields. She's welcome on the show anytime if she wants to come and help a bit of debate. And that's a brilliant point. That, though, correct. That proves how bad our game is at this moment in time. I mean, look at the World Cup. I want to go to the World Cup and do the stoppage time they have. Every time the ball stops, it's countable for. Spot on, that is, definitely. Johnny Dawson, BBC commentary was on a tripe. The best line was questioning Sunderland's away attendance at Fulham. One of them said, well, I bet there's I bet there are more Sunderland fans in London than Fulham fans in Sunderland. What was your thoughts on the comedy team last night, Conrad?
Yeah, I mean, when it's a bit like when you hear your commentators are Lee Dixon and Sam Matterface, you're like, right, I'll just put someone else on. Like, I can't be bothered with it. I think it was, I don't know who the main one was, but I knew the second one was Danny Gabardon, and I was just like, it's going to be a long night. I'll watch it on mute, and I don't need to have the rest of it. No, they just seem like they get anybody and say anything these days. You don't get good commentators that much anymore. I'm trying to even think of the last sort of decent ones that you sort of remember, but no, there wasn't much to it, and it felt like you were just throwing out cliches every few minutes, and then just following the crowd by going, "Oh, but Sunderland are good. I saw that goal they did against Reading, and I saw that other good sort of team goal they did. So yeah, they're really good. You know, they've seen them play lots, and it's like you haven't seen us play once, and you're literally just quoting the things that BBC are quoting last week. It's like when they were all going, Chris Rigg, 15, what a story. It's like you didn't know of him a week ago. Like, what are you talking about?"
Second half, Jack. We came out with a bit more intensity. We really give it a go. And unfortunately, again, so we're going to play, we let a second goal in. What changed to get us going at the half time? Was it Tony Mowbray riling them up? Or do you think that just the team obviously had to come back into the game?
Well, I think we ended the first half a little bit better. So I thought we carried on. I would split the first half into two. We had a poor first 30 minutes where we couldn't get close to Fulham, and Fulham were dominant. And then I actually thought the last 10 minutes of the first half, we did start to get on the ball a little bit more. We played the game in their half. I think no doubt Tony Mowbray had a go at them at half time, because we were flat for a large chunk of the first half, and we kept the ball a bit better as well. We seemed to keep the ball a little bit better and play a bit higher up the pitch instead of trying to play out. I think we found it easier to play in Fulham's half, so we got up the pitch a little bit, and that helped. But the killer was the second goal, because the crowd did start to get up a little bit, because I thought the crowd was pretty flat for the first half. And we start to get behind the lads again, and the second half atmosphere was much better. And we were just thinking, there's an equaliser coming here, and then suddenly the second goal. I mean, I know we come back into it, but I thought the second goal really took the game away from us. It was going to be a long way back, but I just think we improved. We improved on the ball and got further up the pitch, and also the atmosphere, which does make a difference at home, was a lot better because they responded to the better improved performance.
Spot on. Right back on the live chat. If you're watching the channel, obviously you are, because you're on the channel watching it, please give us a thumbs up. Yes, give us a thumbs up. Be much appreciated. Mitsu on the channel, SAFC Fans TV. Hello, lads. Let me see it now. The way we played in that Fulham game, we could have beat any championship game, could have beat any championship team. We did really, really well in the second half. It was a second half performance, much better performance. What was your takes on it, Owen?
Yeah, I thought there was definitely an increased level of intensity in that second half, and they kind of went at them a little bit more. And perhaps it is kind of like the way you wish they'd started the game. Obviously we did end well, and I think again Mowbray just kind of got into them. Obviously built on how the half finished, and it was kind of sucker punch, wasn't it? Their goal, it just seemed like we were going to get back into it. We're going to get the equaliser and then go on and probably, hopefully get the second goal and win the game. But their second goal was just a real sucker punch. But the way they came out and played in the second half, started off, and I think that was sort of the start of them really giving it a go in that second half and really getting after Fulham and playing our football. And we were so unlucky not to get at least one or two goals before Fulham got their second goal.
Should we have brought on Juice and Benetti a bit earlier than we did?
Yeah, I mean, why not give him a go? I mean, why not? What have we got to lose? We haven't got a striker. Barr seemed to be struggling with his false nine role a little bit. Well, with that, it kind of was a bit confusing, wasn't it? But I'd say Bennett, why not give him a run out of front? I mean, the kid seems to know where the goal is. I mean, that's what his second goal for the club. He took that chance really, really well. I mean, I've seen people blaze it over like when they did what he did. So he's quick, he's direct, he doesn't seem to be scared or phased. So why not give him an opportunity? Or I mean, I've been reading all week as well about how Luke O'Nien says he's a 15-goal a season striker. So I might stick him up front.
Yeah, Conrad, second half. Were you surprised that Luke O'Nien actually didn't even start the game, to be fair?
I think it's probably more just the way the team's been playing and how well they've been doing. They probably thought you can't just throw him straight back in because you'll knock like, so Michu, you know, we talk about he might get a bit stroppy if he's not playing and that. I think it's just you don't want to whip him straight out the team and throw 09 in. So probably just sort of went, well, we did all right in Fulham. Let's sort of ease him back in. But again, at the last minute, it was in the last few minutes putting him on. It was like, well, why not? If he says he's all right, let's give him a go. I mean, some of his goals have been pretty decent for us. This one against Shrewsbury was a right finish from the edge of the box. I'm sure he's had a dive-in header against Tranmere a few years back. He did a lob against MK Dons a few years back. So he's not a, you know, he knows where the goal is a bit. And like I agree with Owen. I was looking at Barr thinking, you're not Harry Kane. You're too deep in this false 9 role here. You need to be further up for the false 9 to work. Otherwise, you're a false 8 or a 6, and it's not. That's not even a real thing. It's just, and then even with Bennett, like you say, is it Bennett or Bennett? I always want to say, I think it's Bennett. Yeah, we should give him a go. I did like the fact that he squared up to their centre back, who was like 6'5" at one point, which shows that he's not bothered about sort of, you know, getting involved with people. Maybe we should give him a bit more of a go, but then judging on when we gave him a go earlier on the season, yeah, he scored against Watford, but I'm sure in other games he's come on and looked, you know, off the pace. So maybe they're bedding him in slower.
Jack, do you think that Tony Mowbray is a bit, what's the word? A bit worried about upsetting Michu by taking him off too soon?
But worried about what? Sorry, Terry, I didn't.
Taking off Michu.
I don't know. I think he probably wants to give as many minutes as he can to the ones that haven't played as much to kind of give them development. But I think he was lucky to stay on. I thought he had a poor game. He wasn't getting involved at all. And every time he got on the ball, he was giving the ball away. I thought the subs did sort of, you know, you mentioned an improvement in the second half. I thought 2 or 3 of the subs did come on and do okay. I think 09 come on and he brought a bit of energy to the game. I think he's that type of character. He's probably been itching to get out there, Luke 09, isn't he? He you know exactly what he's about. He loves and he eats, sleeps, breathes Sunderland AFC. And I think when he came on, he really relished it. He showed the enthusiasm and probably, like you say, been itching to get on for the last few weeks. Bennett did really, really well when he come on and obviously took his goal very well. I thought Ekwa did okay as well when he come on. So I think the subs did help us, you know, give us a fresh lease of life in a game where, you know, we looked like we were coming back into it, and they give us a bit of an injection of energy at the right time.
Thank you. Back on the live chat, we've got Neil Thompson. Always remember, casual board outside newsagents, SAFC sign, Italian forward couldn't wait to get home to read the Echo. Mick Griffiths, whose shorts did Chris Rigg have on last night? They looked absolutely massive. The shorts are bigger than him. Right, so casual. Sorry. Owen, Chris Rigg, when he came on, what was your thoughts? Was it later than normal? What do you want a bit earlier?
I would have liked to have seen him come on a bit earlier. I'd like to see him give him his opportunity. Whenever he's come on, he's even in the limited time he's looked composed. He hasn't looked overawed. I mean, if you said to someone, oh, he's only fit, he doesn't seem like a 15-year-old, does he? The way he handles the ball, the way he passes the ball around his appreciation of space, his appreciation of runs of others. He just seems like an absolute class act, and I would have liked to have seen him a little bit sooner. Although apparently someone was saying that he'd played for his school that afternoon or something, so I don't know if he'd already played a bit of football, but no, I'd have liked to see him a little bit. The
commentator said he'd been playing. He'd scored one similar in the had a shot similar in the park earlier on or something like that. Yeah.
But no, I'd have liked to see him a bit sooner. I just think he just does not seem overawed by anybody's reputation. Tony Mowbray even said as much during midweek, didn't he? He was talking about Chris Rigg, and he was talking about how in training he gets wellied into everybody. He doesn't care about reputation. So yeah, I would have liked to see him a little bit sooner, to be honest with you.
What's your thoughts on Pierre Ekwa so far?
Yeah, he's looked all right. It's going to take time, though, isn't it? The kid, this is the first team football this kid's played. He's played all under 23 football, Premier League B. He hasn't played any first team football. So again, it's going to take time for him to bed in. It's going to take time for him to adapt to playing at this level as well. So yeah, he's done all right since he's come. He's done all right. He's played a part. He's looked physical. He's a big lad. He gets around the park well. So yeah, he's done all right, and we're going to see the same, obviously, hopefully, you know, when Lahadji gets his opportunity as well.
Right, and on the chat, Amelia James says, what do you think of Alex Pritchard? We'll go straight to Jack with that one.
Yeah, quality footballer. We're going to need him back in the next few weeks. We've missed him when he hasn't been there. His ability on the ball, his technique, his delivery from set pieces, as we touched on Monday night, for putting the ball in for Shirkin's equaliser at Millwall. I think it's just a case of managing him, making sure we get the best out of him, managing his fitness, making sure we bring him on the right times. But he's a quality footballer. His ability alone is certainly probably higher than Championship level, probably Premier League, bottom half Premier League level. He could get a game in that sort of, in a team in that section of the Premier League. So yeah, he's excellent, and I just think we just need to manage him and make sure we get the best out of him. We know he's not going to be someone who's regularly playing 90 minutes, so if we handle him, he can be a real asset between now and the end of the season. And I thought he played some fantastic touches, and he probably contributed to us keeping the ball a little bit better in the second half when he come on, I felt.
Do you think Tony will start him on Saturday or keep him on the bench?
It depends on his fitness, Terry. But I would ask him if he feels fit, and I would probably give him a start, because I think he's had a couple of substitute appearances now, and give him a start. And if he needs to be brought off after 60, 65 minutes, if he starts to fade, as he sometimes does, then that's fine. Hopefully he does enough when he plays to justify him starting. So yeah, if he's fit enough and he feels okay, I'd give him a start.
Do you think we'll see Chris Rick again this season?
Possibly off the bench, Terry, for 5 or 10 minutes off the bench. You know what I mean? Maybe, but I don't think he'll feature. He'll definitely not start. You might see him in the odd game, but not very much. Maybe 5 minutes here or there, but no more than that.
Conrad, what's your thoughts? Alex Pritchard's performance last night, and would you start him at the weekend?
It's a weird one about starting him, because I know I think, did Jack say last week, when we rushed him back and then we paid the price because he went off again. So I probably wouldn't rush him back on, because as well as that, we've got like 3 quite good nippy forwards, and that he's there for more quality. And maybe even later on in the game, we want a sort of a clear ball putting through, or even a clever pass play, and that's probably better for the moment. I probably wouldn't start him. Just sort of ease him in. We don't want to risk another one of our experienced players being out for the season. You know, there's already 2. We don't want to make it a 3rd.
Right, okay. Owen, same question to you. Alex Pritchard, if you start him, who would you drop? You there, Owen?
That's a good question. I mean, Pritchard's a class act, isn't he? Yeah. Pritchard's a class act, isn't he? He's also that veteran presence we need. You know, we've only really got Danny Batt, who's the only veteran player on that pitch. So Pritchard definitely brings that bit of veteran experience, and I think we just look like we hold on to the ball better. He links the attack, the midfield, the attack, and the defense so well. We just go up a level. But it is an exceptionally difficult query as to who would you leave out for him, because, well, what, you leave Roberts out? Roberts has played really, really well in the league just recently. Jack Clark had arguably probably one of his best games last night. So do you leave Jack Clark? I mean, obviously Ahmad you don't leave out, because the guy's an absolute class act. So it's out of Roberts and Clark, but can you afford to leave either of those 2 out at this moment in time? Especially, you know, with Jack Clark seemingly coming back into form last night. I mean, okay, he might disappoint on Saturday, but it's a really difficult question. But it's a nice dilemma to actually have, isn't it? To actually have some strength in depth there, and obviously not worry about injuries. But I think, you know, Conrad's right. I think it isn't worth risking him and you know, putting him on and him getting injured again, because I think he's going to be such a valuable player in this run-in, because he will just bring that leadership on the pitch and the ability to just, I think, calm everything down as well. You know, there's that element of he just comes on and just calms everything down and takes control of the game. And he is an absolute class act. But yeah, I honestly don't know, Terry, who you'd leave out from. I really don't. It's a very difficult question.
Yeah, Michael Allen on the live channel says start in place of who? Gary Talbot. Pritchard reads the game better than Dan Neil. Pritchard's got a bit more experience than Dan Neil. But yeah, quickly going to Tony Mowbray. Owen, you had an interesting few words to say about him before the live stream started to do with him. Is he frustrated about their striker situation, in your opinion?
I think he is. I think, reading between the lines of what he said yesterday after the game, I think there's a frustration there that there's not an actual out and out 9. I think he likes to have an out and out 9. And Gelhardt, I mean, Gelhardt's a good player. He seems to be a good player, but he's not an out and out 9. He's a 10. He's a guy who drops off, who works the channels, who links between the midfield and the attack. He's not really an out and out striker. So Tony, I think, likes to have that out and out striker, and I think he's frustrated that he hasn't got that man to play the ball up to. He hasn't got that out ball that we had when Sims was here, when Stewart's fit, and I think it was just interesting what he said post game. It just seemed that he was very frustrated with the whole situation, and he would have liked to have gone and perhaps got a free agent striker, just someone to come in and be that target man. Obviously, who I don't know, but he did seem to be moving a little bit away from what Christian Speakman's been saying on the situation.
Right, thank you about that. And who was your man of the match last night?
Man of the match last night, I'm going to go for Jack Clark. I just thought he played really, really well last night. And given all the criticism he's had in recent weeks, I think it obviously that will play on his mind. He really did step it up last night, so I'm going to go for Jack Clark.
Right. Okay. Jack, who was your man of the match last night? Do you think Tony's feeling a bit frustrated about the situation with Speakman to do with strikers?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with Owen. I think Jack Clark was the one that stands out. I've criticised him in the last 2 or 3 weeks for not showing enough and being out of the game. And really, I wouldn't have been surprised to see him drop for a few weeks, but he's kept faith with them and he produced a much better performance. More like the Jack Clark that we saw earlier in the season. You know what I mean? Getting to the byline, getting balls in, going past the defender, and a real threat in the final third. Took his goal very, very well. So yeah, he was involved constantly, and that's much more like you'd expect from him. Tony Mowbray, I think he would be frustrated. I think he probably had in his mind the type of striker that we would like to be playing with, something similar to Ross Stewart. You're never going to be able to replicate it. And he's got Joel Gelhardt in there, but he isn't that type of striker. So he realises the deficiencies in the squad, and I think. I'm not going to be too critical of Speakman because I think he has done a lot of good recruitment, but it wouldn't be the first time this season that a manager's been it onto them, because that was partly the reason that Alex Neil left. I mean, I know people said money, and he's going to Stoke, and I think it was money partly, but I also think it was sort of, he sort of had in the back of his head that I'm not going to get the full run through of, what I want here. And you know what I mean? So I think it does raise a slight question. I'm not going to be too critical of Speakman, as I say, because I think he has done a lot of good work, but I think it was an oversight not bringing anybody in. I think even somebody on a short-term deal between now and the end of the season would be a good option. Who? I mean, that's a completely different question, but I think we've made a mistake not getting somebody.
Spot on. While we're here, we have 99 people on the live stream. We have 50-odd likes. Take 1 second to press the thumbs up, please. Give us a thumbs up on the stream. Try to get 100 likes if possible. Conrad, who was your man of the match and what's your thoughts on Tony's comments?
I thought Clark too, which is like everyone sort of alluded to. A few weeks ago, we'd have said that he hasn't got it in him to be doing that at this moment. His head's gone. But it seemed to be that, especially in the second half, anytime Clark got the ball, that was when we looked the most threatening. It wasn't necessarily, he was running in behind the right back as well. Sometimes he was cutting back and looking across the line, or even sort of just playing little quick passes and just holding on to the ball and drawing fouls from them. I just thought we had a really good game. And like Jack's already said, he took his finish incredibly well. And he's done Fulham twice now. He scored 2 times against them, as well as robbing their centre-back in the last game. I just want a bit more consistency of that from Jack Clark. So I'll give it to him for now. And what was the second part of your question?
To do with Tony?
Yeah, we have to. It is an oversight. I mean, they were... How many days was it when... From Fulham to... I think Fulham was the Saturday and was the window the Tuesday. Was that the sort of time frame he was given? I mean, I know we should have been looking for a striker anyway when Stewart was the only one. But you think to them, they probably went, well, we lived off Stewart and Sims. Why can't we live off Stewart and Gelhardt? And then they've been left with one. And I think it's like Jack says, we don't... Speakman stopped us from being taken for a bit of a ride by people and just going, oh, he's desperate to play for Sunderland, give him all his wages and he'll do the job for you. And then you get, the bad apple or the bad attitude in them, and it sort of ruins what we've got so far. It would have been better to pick someone up, but I think the project overall probably took priority over making a rash decision on a striker for a short period of time.
Right. Basically, Davy Jones, Jack Clark is a different gravy. I think it's a full house. I'll give him man of the match as well. Full house. So well done, Jack Clark. Kim O, it's 2 windows now. They haven't addressed the striker depth. And also we have Mick Griffiths, spot on. Jackie agrees with you. Neil Thompson, we had 31 days to bring 1 in. Never mind 2. We needed... Is there a lot of background noise there by somebody? I think it's got a family party going on.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, but right, we'll move on to the next match of the weekend. We'll go with Jack first. Jack, this is the team last night. I think it was the team last night. That's the team last night. It's okay to say the way it is.
Yeah.
Against Reading, would you make any changes at all?
Yeah, I would probably bring Pritchard in for possibly Michu. I'm not. Pritchard's not great in the central position, but I would try and get him on the pitch ahead of maybe Michu, play him alongside Dan Neil. I would bring Gelhardt back in as well. I think that's a pretty obvious one that everyone would do. Probably bring Gelhardt back in and play Diallo behind the striker. So there's 2 changes. I'm looking at the rest of the team. I think. I think possibly that would be it. So the 2 changes, obviously Gelhardt back in, and I would drop Barr, and I would drop who did I say I would drop? Michu for Pritchard.
Yeah, sorry, that's the team I think that Tony will start at the weekend. That's the team I think Tony will start at the weekend. Gelhardt back. Can we have a score prediction, Jack?
Yeah, I hope our legs aren't tired because we did have a really intense game last night, and I think we might struggle towards the end. But I think Reading aren't that great of a team, and we carved them open away from home. I think we'll probably find it a little bit harder on Saturday. I think they'll shut up shop and try and catch us on the counter, and it'll be about us being patient. We'll definitely have more of the ball than we had probably last night. I think we might just nick it. I'm going to go 2-1 to Sunderland.
Yeah, I think Reading have only won 1 away game since September. So they haven't won in the last 5.
They're in a real bad run, Terry. I was looking at the form, and I think they haven't won in the last 6 or 7 games or something like that. I think so. They are in a poor run, and we have to take advantage of that.
Yeah, we've lost 1 and 7. They've won 1 and 7. So the form is completely turned around from the beginning of the season. But yeah, we'll go back to Owen. What's your thoughts on the team selection for the weekend? Many changes. Would you not just bring in Luke going 9 fresh legs?
I personally would play on 9 alongside Neil. I think his experience. I know he's still like a young. I mean, he's 27 years old now, Luke O'Nien. But again, I think he's just a bit more experience in the team. So I'd bring O'Nien in for Michu. I'd play O'Nien and alongside Neil. I'd obviously take Barr out of the team. Play Gelhardt. You've got to play Gelhardt. He's the only striker we've got. That's the changes I would make. For the game against Reading. Reading are, I think, they're 3rd off bottom on away form this season. They're a very poor team away from home, and I was listening to a podcast this morning at work, and it was one of the guys from the Reading podcast, and he was saying how bad they are away from home, and just they are a very, very poor team. So we've got to go out there, not take anything for granted, and I think if we go out there, play our style, play as we played second half against Fulham, I think it's an eminently winnable game. It really is. But I'd love to see O'Nien given a chance at the end of the season to take that Corey Evans type role, because I just think with his ability to obviously play centre half, he's obviously got a good reading of the game. His distribution's good. He likes a tackle, as we saw against Swansea. But no, I would like to see O'Nien start alongside Neil.
Yeah, we'll go back to Jack. Jack, so if someone said you've got to start Luke O'Nien on Saturday, where would you put him?
If you had to start him, you probably start him in central midfield. I think he's probably played a better football for us defensively, but the back 4 looks fairly settled, doesn't it? At the moment, Hume, Ballard, Bathalesi, you know what I mean? So I don't think he's getting in at right back ahead of Hume or at centre back. So if you're saying he has to start, I wouldn't say he has to start. I wouldn't say that. But if you're saying he has to, he probably plays in centre mid, probably alongside Dan Neil, maybe. But I wouldn't say he has to start.
And who would you think at this moment is probably the best person on the pitch to be the captain with Corey Evans being out?
Difficult one, because do you go for an experienced player, or do you go for someone who's more important in the team? You're probably maybe looking at Danny Barth, who's a bit of a combination of experience and central defence, so you can sometimes view the game better from defence, or maybe Ballard, who's a little bit younger but seems to be a very important physical player in the team. I would probably give it to either of those. But as I say, Tony Mowbray will know more about who's the leader in the camp, don't they? Do you know what I mean? He'll know more about who's the one that's kind of the leader on the training pitch and who's the one that the other players go to. So I would maybe give it to either of those, but I don't know enough about the personalities.
Owen, did you give a score prediction?
No, I didn't. I'm going to go 3-1 to Sunderland.
We want to Sunderland. Nice one. Conrad, your thoughts on the team? Any changes from last night? Apart from obviously apart from Barr and Gelhardt?
Barr and Gelhardt's my main one on there because I think Gelhardt's not really an out-and-out striker. He's more of a 10 or even a false 9, so it sort of fits perfectly because I think against Millwall, I think they might try to play him a bit as a centralised striker, so it might fit the system better. And I'd put 09 in for Michu as well. Just so I think it sort of fits perfectly that we bought him as a central midfielder all those years ago, and he's very rarely played there for us. So let's give it a go anyway. And then it certainly can't hurt. You know, I don't think it's not like he can cause damage in there. And like say, if we're under the cosh a bit, he can slide back. He knows his defensive duties. He's played in defence with all this lot before. And if he wants to break forward and become a 15-goal a season striker, he can have a go at that as well. See what comes from that. When we were on about the captain, I'd probably give it to 09 as well. Mr. Sunderland, 200 appearances for the club. He loves us, and he's Sunderland through and through at this point. You know you're going to get 110% from him. He might not necessarily be the best technical player, but you know what he's going to give to you and make sure that all the lads give the same effort as him. I think Danny Barth's one of them that he can be captain, but he doesn't need the armband to be the leader that he is already. And it's probably similar with Ballard as well, that they're both two leaders who don't need a little armband to tell them how to organise their defence and where their midfielders should be in front of them.
Jack, you wanted in?
Yeah, I disagree with Conrad there, unfortunately. I think 09, if you make 09 captain, I think
it's not a Max Power situation, you think?
Yeah, I think
I can see what you mean.
He would go too far the other way, and suddenly, I'm not saying he would get sent off every week like he would against Swansea. I don't think he would, but I think he would try too hard. And I know Sunderland fans will say, well, that's we want somebody who tries, and I think that's great that Luke 09 is that, but I think he would put too much into the role, and I think he would maybe go a little bit over the top and be fighting other players, and it'd be too. So if somebody say fouls Diallo, it'd be chasing them all around the pitch, wanting to put them and kick them, and it'd be arguing with the ref in the ref's face. So
but that would be funny as well.
Yeah, I get it. I sort of understand what you're saying, but I think sometimes Luke 09's good at just doing what he does. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe I'm looking at it through. I think 09's a quality player because he puts effort in more than I'm actually thinking of the logistics of it.
What about someone like Alex?
Go on, Owen, you're all right.
So I was going to say, what about someone like Alex Pritchard as captain? I mean, I've heard him talked about as being a bit of a coach on the field, a bit of a coach in the dressing room. What's about someone like Alex Pritchard as the captain? He's someone that gets everywhere on the pitch. He's got the experience, and he seems to have the respect of the players. So what about Alex Pritchard as someone as captain?
Yeah, I think it's a bit like Bath and Ballard as well, that he's one of them that he doesn't need the armband to justify him being. Look at Ross Stewart; he's never been captain, but this season I've never seen him talk more to every other player on the pitch. And even when he's coming back and defending corners, he was setting them all up. So I think it's clear that they all are helping each other out, and they're all sort of quite strong personalities because they've got all these young kids that they're thinking, right, I've got to step up, I've got to be setting an example, and that's great for them. But I don't disagree with Pritchard. At least I know he's probably less likely to do a Luke 09 and run after people, but he's more likely to run up to the away fans and give it this and give it the irons and all that. So swings and roundabouts.
I think he would be experienced, very, very one of the most experienced players, and I think he would be the one that you can look to pull something out when you're struggling. Do you know what I mean? A man when you need him, but he goes off at 60 minutes. You know what I mean? So a lot of the time, if he does go off at 60 minutes, you might have to pass the armband to somebody else.
And he might be off in the summer if his contract's not sorted.
Conrad, what was your score prediction?
4-0. We'll smash them. They're terrible away, and I think we'll just do it even more than we did before, and everyone will be like, look at this team, no strikers, absolutely. Because again, against Reading, we lost Stewart the game before, we lost Sims, 7 minutes in, and we were all thinking, how are we going to do this? And we blitzed them away for the rest of the sort of 75 minutes. Right,
I'm going to go for 3-1 win as well. Back on the chat, I'll say a big thank you to everybody on the chat for supporting the channel tonight. Thank you if you've subscribed, thank you for the thumbs up and all your comments. Jeff's on the chat. He says, give it to Terry as a captain. Well, I'll probably go on one myself because I was a bit upset with Black Cat's Bar last night because there was nobody in the Black Cat's Bar got the free food or programs last night, which I think was a complete rip-off from the KEYRINGS club themselves. Anyway, that's another story for another day. Kim O says, bring back Kevin Ball. Mickey Stew says, class Clark. Kim O Pritchard, he's here next season. And also somebody on there, I think it was David, said, give it to Ballard. Massive boost confidence. And then Johnny Dawson, Ekwa for me. Let's see what he can offer. It will be harsh on Mishoot if he's dropped. That's obviously about the team selection. Again, a big thank you to everybody on the channel for watching it tonight. And a big thank you to Jack. Jack, you want to say goodbye? Thanks for being on.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it as always. Hopefully 3 points on Saturday, and I'll see you all later, lads and lasses.
Thank you very much, Conrad. Thank you for being on as well.
See you later, everyone. And as Jacob says, keep the faith.
Exactly. And SFC own Exiles Macam, close to 1,000 subscribers, doing an absolutely amazing job. Daily content. Why should we support your channel again? Why should we subscribe to your channel?
Daily content, and I love talking about the best club in the world, Sunderland Football Club. Nothing better to talk about, is there, in the world? And it's been great being on with you guys tonight again, talking about the club, talking about the game last night, and looking forward to the Reading game. So thanks to everyone in the live chat, and thanks to everybody for having it. Thanks to all you guys for having me on. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Exactly. So the 86 people in the chat, if you haven't subscribed to the lads channel, pop over, subscribe. You'll enjoy the content. Thank you. Take care. God bless me. God go with you. And we'll see you on Monday for the Monday night bunch. Hopefully with 3 points in the bag. See you later.